In the depths of Minecraft's history, there lie 30 blocks, once part of the game, now vanished into oblivion. These blocks, hailing from April Fool's updates, mobile editions, and more, each carry a story of their own. Firstly, let us delve into the enigma of blue lava, or soul lava. This elusive substance remains a mystery, as all that exists are blue lava particles, which briefly appeared in the game files. It is speculated that this lava might have emerged in soul sand biomes, but alas, we may never know. Portals, at one point, functioned somewhat differently. In Minecraft, one could stumble upon these portal fences and blocks. However, since version 1.8, the portal has become a simple flat texture to which we have all grown accustomed. The old educational version featured 3 separate blocks, which seemed rather superfluous considering the existence of the command block, the teleportation block, the home teleportation block, and the spawn point change block. The need for a separate block to return home remains unclear. One could argue that a teleportation block might be useful if a server administrator wished to grant teleportation capabilities to players while restricting access to other command block functions. Regardless, these blocks are no longer present in the new educational version. 2 textures persisted in the game files for quite some time: a chair, or perhaps a chair and table. This is how they might have appeared in Minecraft. If wheat grew taller than usual due to bugs, an unusual sight would emerge. This occurred because all wheat growth stages were arranged consecutively in the old texture file, with the chair texture following immediately after. Another exclusive of the educational version was the heat block. As the name suggests, it could melt snow or ice, but nothing more extraordinary than that. In 2012, the developers attempted to introduce spikes into the game. The intention was for them to extend and retract. At one point, there were plans for a spike-equipped piston, but ultimately, a sticky variant was added instead. The problem with the spikes was that the developers could not agree on their design and functionality. Consequently, Minecraft saw the addition of stalactites and stalagmites, but they were not quite what was envisioned. The April Fool's Infinite update brought forth a plethora of peculiar blocks. For example, the ant, or more accurately, the ant block, which appeared and functioned only in one of the infinite number of worlds. It transformed white concrete into black, creating a random pattern. Another unusual block from the Infinite update was the zone block. It emitted the same green particles one might encounter when using bone meal, but the block itself was invisible. Any player or mob entering the zone block would be afflicted with blindness and poison for 3 seconds. It could not be moved by a piston or replaced by another block, but items dropped into it would be expelled. The cursor block, like the ant block, could be found only in a single dimension. Every second, it alternated between green and black to mimic a terminal's blinking cursor in its world. The update also featured Netherrack steps, notable only for their name. Perhaps the coolest steps in the world indeed. It would have been quite impressive to craft these instead of netherite armor and tools. Moreover, there were bookshelves from which books with random text could be obtained. They formed their separate dimension of an infinite library. Fascinating, isn't it? If we have an infinite library with an infinite number of random books, it should contain all possible texts. In the Pocket Edition, which we played on smartphones before the Bedrock version, there were unique barrier blocks. In those days, the world size was limited to 256 by 256 blocks, and to prevent players from falling off the map, it was surrounded by so-called invisible bedrock, a completely transparent, indestructible block. Invisible bedrock was removed with the release of the version featuring infinite worlds and the more familiar barrier block. Speaking of the Pocket Edition, one cannot forget the lower world reactor core. At the time, Minecraft on smartphones did not have a nether, so the developers added a way to obtain resources from it. When installed and activated, a room made of netherrack would appear around the core, spawning zombie pigmen and dropping various items such as quartz, glowstone, and netherrack. The core disappeared from the game with the addition of the regular nether. The reserved 6 block, featuring a simple gray texture, occasionally appeared due to a fire spread bug in the Pocket Edition. The blue rose, an exclusive variant, never appeared in either the Java or Bedrock versions. It was simply a standard rose with a blue-tinted texture. As far as I know, such roses do not exist in nature. They are obtained by dyeing the water used to grow white roses. If they were removed from the game for this reason, it would have been nice to add the ability to dye flowers with dyes. After all, I quite liked how the blue roses looked in the game. The update and Eyetap blocks appeared in the Pocket Edition. If a block was removed with an update but remained placed in the world, the update, as the name suggests, would convert it. Let us journey back to the very early versions of the game. Does anyone recall this starting house with a chest inside? The chest contained stacks of various blocks, inexplicably in quantities of 99 and 100 rather than the usual 64. However, we are interested in these two particular blocks, lava and water. To be honest, it's not entirely clear how they functioned, certainly not like modern buckets, and attempting to place such a block would likely result in an uncontrollable flood of lava or water throughout your world. Gears hail from around the same era. It is believed that gears predated redstone and were intended to perform similar functions, but they were never fully developed. For instance, a placed gear could only be destroyed by an explosion. Even breaking the block it was mounted on would simply render the gear invisible. Let us examine some unusual half blocks. This Dynamite half is not a bug, but part of one of the April Fool's updates. Despite its diminutive size, it functioned like regular dynamite, with the added bonus of an anvil falling on the player's head upon detonation. In contrast, the mud half block appears quite normal and would have fit well alongside the other blocks. However, its intended purpose was to generate naturally, creating smoother landscapes. Unfortunately, this concept worked poorly, as half blocks of dirt sometimes looked strange on mountains. To avoid the hassle of fixing the issue, Mojang simply abandoned the idea. Coral half blocks, unlike the previous two, were part of the official game version. However, this was Minecraft Earth, a game for smartphones utilizing augmented reality. With the closure of Minecraft Earth, coral half blocks vanished along with it. The village barrier block, its texture stored in the game files for several years, remains somewhat of a mystery. As no videos or screenshots featuring them have survived, it is unclear how they were intended to be used. Perhaps they would have generated naturally to prevent villagers from leaving, or maybe players could have used them to mark boundaries themselves. This red fence represents another kind of barrier, but one exclusive to the educational version. It was impossible to pass over or under it, or more accurately, in accordance with the Minecraft version's name, this fence was used for educational purposes. If a player with the student role could not overcome it, the teacher could easily pass through. Essentially, it served as a barrier to prevent students from wandering off during lessons. Due to a bug, an unusual cake existed, which could be called a reverse cake. Instead of decreasing, it went backward, displaying new textures with each bite. Additionally, for Minecraft's 10th anniversary, the ordinary cake was replaced with one featuring a candle shaped like the number 10. However, it disappeared after a few days. The end dimension might have looked like this: white cobblestone or stone, and although Mojang replaced it with end stone, it is evident that the texture in both versions was based on ordinary cobblestone. This intrigues me because this texture first appeared in the very first version of Minecraft and, albeit in altered form, endured to the very end, to the final battle with the game's ultimate boss. If you liked what you saw, please show your support by liking and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay up to date with all new videos. Additionally, you can also support me with a donation. Every little bit helps, and I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.